we're back for banana bread making today. We're just going to give it a few minutes for everyone to join us. So if you're logged on, if you want to wash your hands and be ready, here you can go wash your hands. Erin's just washing her hands. We've got behind the camera, we've got Mr. Boozy Bakers and we've got Max behind the camera today. So they're going to be reading out any of your comments, your hellos, your shout outs. We'd love to hear who's taking part. So do feel free, if you're baking across households virtually and you're having a bit of a bake-off, do a shout out to other members of your households. I know we've had cousins and grandparents and friends and people in the same house doing bake-offs as well. So just let's hear from you, we love it. You alright?
These are hard to get on.
They are hard to get on. It's because you're little.
So we've got Bogdan and Debbie have both returned again to join us. We've got Freya saying hello.
Hi Freya.
Annette, Sarah,
Hello.
Anne in North Norfolk.
Oh, hello. Oh yeah, tell us where you're from as well. Particularly, if we got anyone from further afield, how far can we get today?
Sheila's happy she's managed to get on.
Oh good, well done.
Mark in Helsby in Cheshire.
Hello.
And Mrs. Speck and Nathan are checking in. Hi Max and Erin.
Max, you saying hello from behind the camera?
Hi! What's it?
Mrs. Speck. So we've got Erin joining me today, so it's been a couple of weeks for Erin, and she's back helping me, aren't you? Yeah.
And Joe saying hello from Mum and Esme.
Ah, hello.
So we've got Sheila from Guildford, Samantha from Durham, Louise from Chertsey, Yvette from Hertfordshire.
Oh, from all over.
And we're already asking questions. What temperature for the oven, please?
Okay, so the eager ones around you. It's going to be 180 or 160 fan or gas mark 4. You right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want
Do we need a mixer today?
Well, no. If you want to use a mixer, you can. We're going to be doing it all by hand. You will need a tin of some kind to put your mix in. We've got a loaf tin. If you haven't got a loaf tin, you could use a cake tin, a pie dish, a takeaway foil container. Just something to hold its shape.
This is a loaf for
Banana bread. Erin's a bit shy, I think, but she won't. When she gets going, she won't be.
We've got Sarah from West Chilternton taking a banana break between sourdough preps. Bagels later, bread tomorrow. Great soda bread last week, hoping for the same results this week.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, we've had lots of people making. I think scones for VE Day was quite popular, and then soda bread throughout the week. We've been receiving your photos, and we've loved seeing what you've been making.
I think
You're going to have to talk a little bit louder so that they can hear you.
So we've got Christine from Southsea, Christina from Alloa.
So how are we doing on numbers? Are we? No, we're not even at quite 2 o'clock, are we? So we'll give it. So yeah, again, I'm just going to repeat for a bit, just whilst people are logging on. If you haven't washed your hands, if you want to go and wash your hands quickly, and for anyone wondering about temperature for oven, we said 180 or 160 fan or gas mark 4.
it's 201.
Is it 201?
Yeah.
You have to talk to here as well as me.
It's not 202.
So we've got James in Hitchin with a few frozen nanas.
A few frozen nanas. Oh, it'd be interesting that my frozen nanas were a little bit, well, they didn't last very long. I don't know what I did to them. They might have probably done alright actually if I'd bared with it. I think I left them out too long and nothing with them. We've got our nanas here.
Carrie's asking, only has caster sugar, is that okay to use?
Perfect.
I have one for after we do the cheesecake. I have one for after we do the cheesecake.
Oh.
I have an idea.
So you need to speak up because they can't hear you, you see, if you're just talking to me. You see how Mummy's projecting her voice?
Yeah.
We have to do that. So I kind of hit a mental block. There's a lot of people sending us suggestions of what to do in a workshop, and we want to do all of it, but we've got to have things that don't require a big chilling period in the fridge, or baking something, or letting something cool for a period of time that we can get on. So we've been putting our heads together, haven't we? And next week, for the eagle-eyed among you, will have seen that we've put on for next week's workshop. It will be
Cheesecake!
Cheesecake. You're doing that week.
Yes.
Why do you want to do the cheesecake one, Erin? You have to tell them. Because she gets the bash biscuits. Right, how are we doing? Shall we get started?
We're doing well. We've got asking for a repeat of the temperature, please.
Yeah, so your oven will be preheated to 180 or 160 fan or gas mark 4.
Do we need frozen bananas?
No, fresh bananas is fine. The riper the better is good. Ours aren't actually the most overripe because we got them during the week and they haven't had a chance. Don't do that. But you can have frozen bananas if you had nothing to do with them. You can pop them in the freezer and then bring them out for this. It's pretty versatile, and we did say if anyone didn't like banana, you can replace it with courgette or butternut squash or apple, stewed apple or applesauce. But we're going to stick with bananas today, and we'll go through any options. So if you want to add something else like chocolate chips or some nuts, we'll tell you when to do that, and we're going to try and go along together. And so if this is your first time, we do an action as part of it. We do it, fulfill an instruction, and then we're going to ask you to give us a thumbs up on your emojis, just so we know that everyone is kind of keeping together and we're not losing anyone, because we cheat a little bit, and for the ease of talking to you and baking, I've pre-done some of my ingredients, not all but some, so we want to make sure that you're with us.
What kind of sugar is required?
So we've gone for caster sugar. If you don't have caster sugar, use granulated. You could use brown sugar, like a soft brown sugar. Go with what you've got. If you go for a brown sugar, you'll probably end up with a more gosh, I can't say it. Caramelised. That's what I'm trying to say. Caramelised taste. You could also do a half and half.
And Diane is in Harrow and looking forward to this.
Excellent.
It's her favourite bananas.
I like banana bread. Right. Yes.
After the cheesecake, I was thinking we can do the Saxon cake, which we did for a Saxon day.
Oh, yes. If Erin has her way, you're all going to be outside being Anglo-Saxons for the day. So, right, okay, I'm going to get started. So I'm assuming you've all washed your hands. Your oven temperature is 180 or 160 fan or gas mark 4. Right, are you going to do this then?
Yeah,
Excellent.
I can take
Excellent. Right, so we've already done ours, but if you want to get your tin, speak up, okay? If you want to get your tin or whatever you're using and you want to grease it, we've just got a pastry brush with a bit of margarine. You can use oil or butter, and you just want to, hang on Erin, you want to grease it all over in the base. And then I've got some parchment paper, just for ease of getting it out, and I've just cut a nice narrow strip, and I've placed it in the bottom and up the sides. I want it to be up the sides so I can get it out. So if you have it a bit longer, it's even easier. The one I chose was a bit shorter, but it will help you lift out your banana bread afterwards. So let's do that. So you should, if you don't have a pastry brush, a bit of kitchen towel, and just dab it into some butter and wipe it around. Or if you have like one of those fry light sprays, you could just use that around your tray or loaf tin.
What size tin's required?
So I actually don't know the pound weight on this, but I have a tape measure. I put this on the comments earlier in the week. Ours is, what is it, Erin? At the top, it is a 12 by 23 centimetres. It's got, sorry Erin, calm down. Good. The depth is 8 centimetres, and the base is 8 by, I think it's about 20. Can you hold that side for me? On there. Yeah, 20 centimetres. I'm sorry I can't tell you what it is in pounds, but I don't have that information on it, and I don't work like that, I'm afraid. But just, yeah, regular size tin. it's not too big. If you don't have that size and you end up with a bigger one, you're going to end up with just a wider, shallower loaf, but it will still work. And if it's slightly smaller, it'll just be deeper. So don't worry too much. But that's the measurements of ours. Are we ready to get going? Or are we snipping out parchment and greasing tins?
My shoulders still.
I'm just waiting for some thumbs
That's
up.
alright, we can wait. We already did ours, so we were a bit...
Apparently it's a £2 loaf tin.
Thank you. It's a £2 loaf tin, I remember that now. How do you know that? Is that just something that's you have to look up on the internet? Or is that just experience?
The thumbs up are all coming through.
Excellent. Right then. So once you've got your loaf tin ready, we're going to add the butter. You're going to add the butter?
I knew that from your cake.
So that is, sorry, I'm not giving in amounts, it's 115 grams. You can use margarine if you prefer. We've gone for butter today.
I knew it from your cake.
You need to speak up a little bit, Erin.
I know how to do butter first because your cake's really sugar.
Now, if you do use butter and it's a bit hard, especially if you're working with a child, you might want to just warm it up. Now, I've actually hurt my wrist still, it's still a bit painful, and that's too hard for me. So I'm just going to ask Miss, actually I'll do it myself. I'm just going to put that in for a few seconds just to warm that up.
The reason they know it's a £2 tin is experience. Apparently a £1 tin is very tiny.
Okay.
Thank you, Leslie, Alice, and Rufus for the advice there.
Right, okay, you're going to give that a stir. Well done. Is that a bit softer now?
Yeah.
Oh, actually I left the microwave on, bear with me. There we are. Is that better?
Hang on, I just need to...
So what you want to do is you want to be stirring the butter until it's creamed, it's a bit softer.
What was the weight again, please?
It's 115 grams of butter. Is that feeling alright?
Yeah.
Yeah? Shall we add some sugar to it then? So we're going with just 130 grams of sugar. As I said, you can use different sugars. I have done it before with half brown sugar for a more caramelised taste, but today we're just doing caster sugar. That's alright. So when we tip this in, what we want to do is make the sugar disappear. So we're going to, like the cakes, yeah. So mix it in until you can't see the sugar.
It's not going.
That's alright, keep going and it will.
For Jill, the loaf tin was greased and lined with parchment.
Yeah, I like to line it with a bit of parchment because I find it easier to get out. If you don't have parchment, just grease it. You can always put a little bit of flour in as well. That can sometimes help to... that's okay, just keep going. To set it free from the tin. That's it.
Still not coming out.
It's bothering you, isn't it?
Tisha's asking, can she halve the sugar? Is that going to be okay?
Yeah, it should be. You have got other ingredients to bind it going in. So yeah, by all means, if you want less sugar, do, or you can actually add a bit of honey for sweetness if you don't want to use sugar. It's all going on today. Got the phone ringing. We're very sorry. Mr. Boozy Bakers is just going to get that, and then we'll be back taking your questions. That's it, Erin. So you should be looking for creamier texture.
That's cream.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It'll lighten slightly. Oh, we've got the master baker coming along. Miss Max is going to read out what you're asking.
How much sugar?
How much sugar? It's 130 grams. So at the moment we've got 115 grams of butter and 130 grams of sugar. You going to sit up with Daddy? You do the rest? Max, I'm going to go to bring him on whilst you're all mixing. I'm going to knock him out actually. There we go. It's Max's birthday tomorrow. How old are you going to be, Max?
11.
11! Yeah, so we are going to celebrate that tomorrow, and we're not working tomorrow, are we? We're not doing any orders, because we're going to have a Max day. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, are you going to go behind the camera?
Yeah.
Yeah, and go and help Daddy with the questions?
I'll slice them. Yeah.
Okay, go on, go around then.
I'll slice them.
We're not doing that yet. Right, so are we thumbs up on the butter and the sugar? Are we alright with the butter and the sugar?
Yes, the thumbs up are coming through. Question, can it be caster sugar?
Yes, we've used caster sugar. You can use granulated, you can use brown sugars.
We're getting lots of happy birthdays to Max coming through.
Oh, Max, see? Even at lockdown, you have a good birthday and lots of well wishes. Thank you, everyone. He's really enjoying the messages.
Like I did.
Yeah, you did too. We've had 3 lockdown birthdays, haven't we?
Pom Pom got a thumbs up as soon as he asked Emma if she wanted a glass of champagne.
Excellent. Emma does like a glass of champagne, doesn't she? Yes. Mind you, I think I'd have a thumbs up too.
Happy birthday to Annette, whose birthday was yesterday.
Oh, happy birthday, Annette. Feel free, anyone else with a birthday, we'll do shout-outs. Right, are we alright for moving on to the... Right, we're going to do eggs next. So, if you followed a workshop before, we've gone through eggs, but I will talk you through it. Erin's going to do one and I'm going to do one. Should we do that? No, I'm going to do one to show people, then you do the other one. So, we're using a plastic bowl. I would never advise cracking an egg on a plastic bowl. I would take your egg in one hand over the bowl, particularly if you're doing this with children. I use a metal knife or a spoon, and I'm going to crack it halfway down the egg. And then I'm going to use my thumbs to put it in. There we go, to prise it open and it goes in, and there's no shell in there. If you do end up with shell in it, you can actually use half to scoop a bit of the shell out.
Why is this so smelly?
It doesn't smell, Erin. Please stop. Right, okay, Erin, your go. Right, so good crack, bit more of a bash. That's it. Well done.
Mummy, there's little bits in there.
That's okay, we can fish the little bits out if we get little bits in. You want to prise it with your thumbs?
Yeah.
You want me to?
Annette's used Canderel, 16 grams is the equivalent of 130 grams of normal sugar.
Okay.
And happy birthday on Thursday for Isla from Charlie.
Happy birthday, Isla. Right, you're going to give that a mix. So once you've got your 2 eggs, give it a good mix in. You might find it curdles a bit. Don't worry too much. Curdling's when it looks like it's separated. It's not one creamy mixture. You might find that it separates a bit, but don't worry. That's it, Erin. Well done. Well, it will get easier because we've added some moisture to it now, so it's getting thinner, isn't it? Good. Should we scrape down the spoon for you, so that it's all combined? So all I'm doing is anything that's stuck to the spoon, just so it's combined more, I'm just scraping off with another spoon, so Erin's got the whole mix in there. Well done. Well, no, it's slightly curdled, but that's not a problem. So I'll show the camera slightly. So if you see, I don't know if you can see that without me. If I tip it too far, I end up going on the carpet, the floor, and I don't want to do that. Careful. There we go. So it's slightly curdled, but it's all good, it's combined. So have we got thumbs up to that? Have we all got to a combined mixture? Not yet.
Still getting a lot of happy birthday messages. Thank you very much. We've got a very happy boy behind the camera.
He is literally grinning ear to ear.
Yep, thumbs up are
Thumbs
coming
up
through.
to that. Excellent. Right, just closing the door.
Heaven
Right.
saying not yet.
That's alright, we can wait. We're not doing that yet, Erin. Eager beaver.
Which one's first?
No, we're not doing that. We have to wait.
What's first then?
Why you have to wait? We're going to wait for everyone else.
Is it milk?
It's not milk, no.
Bananas?
Yeah.
Ah,
Okay.
I did
Right,
banana
I'm
then.
going to put this bowl aside. I'm going to get another bowl. It doesn't have to be this big. And I'm going to mash up. You can use 2 or 3 bananas.
Bunny said it's Pinky's birthday. yesterday, and she's also asked, have you had the flour yet?
No, we've not added the flour. All we've done so far is the butter and then the sugar, and then we've just added the eggs. What do you want to do?
And both eggs went in, yeah?
Yeah, both eggs. I've now used a different bowl and used 2 or 3 bananas. If you've got large bananas, you might just want to use 2. These are slightly smaller. Would you like to do 2 or 3? 3 bananas for us. So just going to peel them and add them to the bowl. You'll find if you do have riper bananas,
I'm not going to eat it.
you don't have to eat it, it's going in the recipe. If you eat it, we'll have nothing in there. If you
This one's going to
have ripe bananas, they will mush up really easily. Yes, Max?
What temperature to preheat the oven?
It's 180 or 160 fan or gas mark 4. Nearly, Erin. Nearly.
That was hard.
It's playing peekaboo. There we go. Right, you're going to add that one? There we go. Right. What do you think the best way to mash it would be from what we've got here?
Spoon.
I think a fork. And I think if you use it the other way around, so rather than like you're eating, if you push it the back of it on and give it a good.
I don't like this way.
Well, it's a bit funny at first because they're a bit slippery, aren't they, where they're round. So, but if you push them onto the side of the bowl,
Okay.
see, like that.
Okay, but I still like
So I don't know if you can see what I'm doing, but I'm just using the fork. You might have other ways of doing it, but to mash my bananas, I'm just using the fork and I'm pressing the bananas against the side of the bowl. There you go, Erin.
I would still do the cheesecake way.
How are we doing? Is everyone mashing bananas? Have we got any different ones going on today?
How long do you bake it for?
So we're going to be baking for 50 to 60 minutes. Are you leaving us, Max? Okay. Alright. Max is leaving the room. A bit of fidgety energy today. I'm blaming the, well not blaming, but I think it's his birthday. He's just a little bit overexcited, so we can't keep him still today. Oh, nearly, Erin. Shall I have a go?
I was thinking.
Have we got any other children taking part today? I've heard a few names of some younger bakers. Right, there we go. It just takes a little bit of effort. Yeah, you can.
Nina's using a potato masher.
Yeah, it's a good one as well.
Yeah, so's Jenny. Janie's asked, have you added any chocolate yet?
No.
Why would you
So just the butter, creamed that, added the sugar, mixed that in, and then added the eggs. Mr. Baker, a beauty baker, is looking very confused that we have no chocolate out. That was an option. So you could use chocolate chips and nuts. We're not going to add that yet. I will come to that though, I promise. Yes.
Michelle's with Arabella, age 10.
Oh, hi Arabella.
Why would you use chocolate chips in them?
Why would you use chocolate chips, Erin's asking? Well, it's flavour. It's like a lot of things in baking. If you were to make a little cake, you could flavour it with different things, couldn't you? You could use lemon, or you could use vanilla.
But those just don't go together, banana and chocolate.
You don't think banana and chocolate go together? I do. You're going to have to speak up a bit so they can hear you, because you're making some really valid points. I think banana and chocolate do go together quite nicely. Do. You can, when you're camping, I used to as a kid, you'd get a banana and you'd slit it open whilst it still had its skin on, and you'd insert a Cadbury's flake to it and cook it. Mmm.
So Sarah's got Freya with her, having fun.
Yep.
Jo has Esme, aged 15, who's missing her home economics classes in
Oh,
school.
I hope that's making up for it a little bit.
Ashton's baking, he's 9.
Hi Ashton.
Jess as Freya is 11 years old from Bristol.
Hey,
Is with us
Freya.
again, and they cooked pizza for their tea last night.
Ah, lovely.
Dawn's got Albert, who's 3.
Oh, well done! If you have any little children that are struggling with some of the mixing, because it takes a bit of arm effort, what you can do is get like a sandwich bag, like a zip bag, and put the ingredients in and let them squish it with their hands. Right, hang on, Erin.
Still has
Oh.
the egg.
Alright, don't worry. Okay, so
can you use honey instead of sugar?
You can, yeah. If you ask me quantities, I've not done it, Erin, you need to wait for me, please. You need to do... Sorry, I'm really struggling with Erin today because she's trying to go over. You've got to stay with me on this. So a couple of big tablespoons will be fine with that. I know, you're eager and you bake a lot, don't you? But we're trying to just keep up with everyone at the same time.
Nina's using walnuts.
I like nuts. Right. Okay, so once you've got your mashed banana, we're going to add it to our butter, sugar, egg mix. Go on then, Erin, you can add that. Do you want me to hold it and you scoop it? Oh, okay, he's going to slide it in. Lovely. The good thing about banana is it's so moist, so you get a really good loaf. And I think even if you don't like banana particularly, it still makes a really good loaf to have for a tea time treat. And you, as I said, you can put things like nuts and chocolate, and actually you could use a little caramel piece and have like a banoffee loaf.
I really like making this.
That's okay. So Erin's just giving that a mix. It won't take very long because we've mashed the bananas and we've got a thin mix. So that's fine, Erin. That's all we really need to do. So let's just make sure we've got some thumbs up to a banana-y mix. You have to wait, darling. I know you really want to do it. Okay. How are we
Yep, the
doing?
thumbs up had just started to come through.
That's okay.
And do we put the chocolate in now too?
So what if we've got all the thumbs up and we're going to the next stage? Weigh out your flour. So we've got 260 grams of self-raising flour. Hang on, Erin. You can put in your baking powder to that. So 1 teaspoon of baking powder. I'm just going to get my spoon. I've left them all over the other side. That's it. You alright? Do you want some help? No. And then if you've got chocolate or nuts, I would add it into your flour first and just give it a little bit of a stir. The reason being, hang on. The reason being, the flour will coat your flavourings and they won't all clump together too much. Right. There's 1 teaspoon. I'm just going to add a bit more because that was a bit of a mean teaspoon's worth. A pinch of salt goes into this as well. So let's do it into our hands rather than tip in, because if you tip too much, that would be a bit disastrous. That's it. Whoa, see? That is quite a lot. So I'm just going to put a pinch of it in, and then we're just going to... No, because otherwise if you put too much salt in, what would happen to the mix? It would get too salty.
I like salty.
Not in a cake, Erin. Maybe on your chips, but I wouldn't put too much salt in your cakes. Right.
Can you repeat how much flour?
Sorry, it is going on today. Right, so the flour is 260 grams of self-raising flour. So that's in there, we've already measured ours out. And then we've added 1 teaspoon of baking powder and a pinch of salt. And then if you want to add chocolate or nuts or a mixture of both, I'd go for about 30 grams. Depends how much chocolate or nuts you want in it. If you want a very nutty loaf, maybe double that. If you just want a hint of it, about 30 grams. I know, you're eager. You have to wait a second.
And can you add raisins?
Yeah.
So
Any dry ingredient. You could add a bit of spice if you wanted to. You could go for a teaspoon of mixed spice or cinnamon or nutmeg. Nutmeg would be a nice one to do.
And can you repeat the baking powder amounts?
Yeah, so a teaspoon of baking powder and a pinch of salt.
And how much chocolate would you use if you're adding it?
I would add about 30 grams for a light amount of chocolate to about 60 grams if you want a more heavy chocolate taste to your banana loaf. You have to wait, please, Erin. Do you want to answer these questions? Go on then. Right, next question for Erin.
What if we can only get plain flour, please?
What would you do with plain flour if you can only do plain flour? We'd have to add a bit more baking powder. So put another teaspoon of baking powder in.
Thumbs up.
Okay, thumbs up coming in. Right, Erin. Hang on. We're going to sieve ours. If you don't have a sieve, tip it in. But if you have a sieve, use it. It just allows for a bit more air to pass through. So, you ready, Erin?
We'll get you a better banana.
try to keep it in a bowl. Go on then. So we're going to just tap the sieve so that we don't end up with flour flying outside the bowl, which is what will happen if we let Erin loose. It's because it's going on your hand. You need to keep your hand up a bit and tap the side. If you tap the net, you're just going to have a floury hand.
If you're using other ingredients like raisins or walnuts, how much of that?
Yeah, again, about 30 to 60, depending on how much you want to be able to taste it in your loaf. And spices, I would say between 1 and 2 teaspoons if you want to put any powdered spices in. Again, depending on flavour. Next week we'll be doing cheesecake, and we'll give you the same for anyone that prefers something sweet. We'll give you options on level of sweetness. Alright, Erin. Shall I do this bit?
No.
And also next week is a flourless recipe. So those that have been struggling with getting flour, next week there is no need for flour.
When does the milk go in?
It'll be going in afterwards. Erin, can I do the last bit,
No.
please? Yes, please.
Can I
Thank you.
come off the camera?
You want to come off the camera?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, darling. You say bye to everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Right. So fold in your flour. So rather than giving it a mix, I would fold it in. We're going to add the milk afterwards because we want to get the right consistency. For anyone with children, mine are on one today.
What spices could you use, please?
So I would recommend nutmeg or cinnamon or mixed spice. So mine's looking quite floury now. I'm going to leave that because I don't want to combine it too much, and because I can feel it thickening up, I'm going to add my milk at this stage. The reason I do that is rather than trying to stir my flour into a very thin mix by putting the milk in before and then having to try and combine it, I just find that adding the flour, combining it a bit into a thicker batter, and then adding the milk, is helpful. So it's quite a thick, because of the banana, it's quite a thick batter. I'm not going to over mix it. I don't know if you can see that. So I'll try and do both at the same time. I'll hold it up. You can see it will fall off the spoon, but it's not really runny. It's quite a thick batter.
Can you repeat how much milk, please?
Oh, sorry. That is 60 ml of milk. Sorry, I forgot that I had it all pre-done. This is actually water, but it could really do with being something else. Now the children have disappeared and they won't watch this until later. We also have to make Max's birthday cake without him realising today. So that's me and Mr. Boozy Baker's next task, is making a cake. And Max is actually quite fussy because he doesn't do fondant or buttercream or anything really, does he? He just likes a plain lemon drizzle cake. So we're going to have to really pimp up lemon drizzle cake and add some meringues or something to the top.
To repeat to a lot of questions being asked, it's 60 ml of milk.
Yeah, thank you.
If the eggs were large, do you need to use the milk?
Yeah, you probably will still need to use them, but by all means do it bit by bit. As I said, it is quite a thick batter. This, because it's a loaf, it's not a banana cake, it is going to be that bit thicker because it's a bit of a denser bread. It'll still have that moisture in it, but at the end of it you can really slice it. It's not a soft kind of cupcake mix. So you do want it to be a thicker, dollopy batter. We're popular today on the phone. If anyone is watching and thinking I'm struggling and I'm trying to get you on the phone, that we're doing the live video on the phone, so that's why we have to keep cancelling.
Virginia asked, is that gin and tonic you're drinking?
It's not, but it really needs to be. No, it's just water at the moment.
It will be in about half an hour.
It will be. If you have now got yourself your completed batter, you can now pop that into your loaf tin. It does, I mean, so if I've got a £2 loaf tin, it does fill it quite considerably. And these do rise. If you don't have this and you're doing cupcake cases with it, that's fine. Or a cake, we will just alter the amount of baking time to make sure it bakes properly for you.
Questions about the milk again. When did you add the milk?
So what I did was I tipped the flour in and sieved it in, and I started to fold that, but as it started to combine, there was still a lot of flour that you could see. I then started to tip the milk in, just so that we kept a nice consistency rather than letting it get too thin or too thick. So get your flour in, start to fold it, and then tip your milk in.
Remind them how much milk again?
60 ml of milk.
And if their mixture's runny before they add the milk, do they need to add it?
Have you put your flour in first? Put your flour in. If you have a mix and you've put your eggs in and you've put your flour in and it's runny, don't add milk. Just check the amount of flour you've put in and make sure it's 260 grams. I made the mistake earlier myself on Max's cake. I went to put it in and thought, gosh, this is looking really, really thin, and we realised we had not added all the flour. We fixed it, it's fine. How are we all doing? You've got thumbs up coming in? Maybe? Thing is, because I've got things prepared, I know that it's going to take a bit longer sometimes because I'm just tipping it and you're weighing it, so... I'm also, whilst you're all catching up on that and maybe at various stages, so next week I've just put on, I'm sorry it's not sooner, I'm trying to be as organised as I can, but we are adapting all these recipes to make it as easy for lockdown as possible and as versatile as possible for lockdown. So we know that some people don't have access to flour, we know that you don't all have lots of baking equipment, I know some people haven't had measuring scales. So we're trying to each week change it up so that you can all take part. So next week is, we've got it as a chocolate chip cheesecake, but there are options for different toppings, so it doesn't have to be chocolate, but what it is that it's no flour, so that's a different one. And I will, after this workshop, I will be adding the one for in 2 weeks' time, which is going to be cinnamon buns. I know if you've been doing these workshops with us, that was requested quite a few times with cinnamon buns. I've put together my own recipe which allows me to make cinnamon buns within the time frame of this workshop. It does require bread flour and yeast. I know that's going to send a load of you into panic, so what we've done is we've put together a box that you will be able to order from our online shop of pre-packed flour, sugars, yeast. So if you do want to take part, we'll put up the amount of ingredients you need so you can go get it, or you might already have it and you've got 2 weeks to prepare. If you don't want to find it, haven't got it, or would just like it sent to you, it'll be weighed out and it'll be the right amount with method to make cinnamon buns. You can do it along with us or you can do it without us, but I'll add that to the shop after this workshop.
So Bogdan's got a fairly runny mixture of only a spoonful of milk.
Okay, keep it like that then.
Tracy's saying hi to Alice and Freya. We've also got, can you recommend an alternative for egg, please?
I would struggle on this recipe just because it needs something to bind. You've got the banana, it might work without the egg because you've got the banana in there, but it is a science and I can't think of something to replace the egg in this particular recipe, I'm afraid. I'm sure if I googled it we could find something, but you might like to try it just without it. Just be prepared that it might not bind as much.
Do we need a ceramic tin?
No, this is just my pretty one that I thought I'd put on, but we've got metal ones as well and it works just as well in there.
And we've got a lot of love for the future workshops coming up. How long are we cooking for?
So this is going to go in the oven for between 50 and 60 minutes. This is 8 centimetres deep, and as you can see, hopefully you can see, it's almost filling it. This is going to rise up over, so it's quite deep. So mine's probably going to need about 60 minutes. If you haven't got a loaf tin and you're using, say, an 8-inch cake tin, you might want to reduce that to more like 50 minutes because you've got more surface area, it's not as deep, so you won't need as long. The way to tell if this is done will be, first of all, it will start to smell cooked. You'll be able to smell your banana bread. If you reach the time and you can smell it, open the oven, give it a touch. If it sinks or it's wobbling, put it in for another 10 minutes, particularly if it's wobbling. If it looks done and it's golden brown on the top, you can always get a skewer or a cocktail, kebab stick, and poke it into your cake and bring it out. If it comes out and it's caked in uncooked mixture, you need a few minutes longer. If it comes out clean, or a suspicious bit of banana and that's it, you can always poke it back in, but then it's done. If it comes out clean, it's done.
So, again, the people asking about how long, so it's 50 to 60 minutes. How about time if you made it into muffins?
So I would go 20 minutes. If you've made it into your kind of muffin cases, then I would go 20 minutes. Feel free to, if you've made it into anything different, tell me what it is and I will give you an estimate.
Can you repeat the testing of a skewer, please?
Yeah, so once you think it's done, it should smell done. You look at it, it should look golden. You can press it just with a light finger. If it wobbles, it's definitely not pressing it, just put it back in. If it looks done and it's risen, if you press it, it should feel firm to the touch. And last test, if you're still not sure, is get a skewer or a kebab stick and stick it into your your loaf. Sorry, did I say cake? I'm a cake maker. So stick it into your loaf, and if you bring it out and there's no uncooked cake mix on it, if it's clean, it's done. If you bring it out and it's got loads of gooey cake mix on it, it's not done. If you're unsure because it touched a bit of banana, you might have had a bit of a banana chunk, just choose a different location on your loaf and do it again. But what you're looking for is it comes out clean.
To Raji, who was asking about the egg alternative, she's used evaporated milk. Please let us know how that went. We'd love to know.
Yeah, we would. I mean, we're all up for changing recipes. We make all our own recipes, and we often change things up for various reasons. And it's really interesting. I love the science of baking and what works and what doesn't work. So we'd love to know if you've done something different, how it worked out for you.
There's people liking the idea of making muffin ones out of it as well.
Yeah, well, you know, they kind of last longer if you make it into muffins, I suppose.
So, can they put it in the oven now?
Yeah, sorry, you can put it in the oven now. I should do the same with mine, actually. Bear with me. Why is ours at 165? What else to tell you at the moment? So we've got a YouTube video with all the workshops so far. Max has uploaded those. We'll be doing the same with this, so if you want to catch, if you didn't do the workshop or you've caught on late or you didn't have the ingredients, we will be putting all the workshops onto our YouTube channel, which is Boozy Bakers. You'll see the logo on our YouTube channel. I know a lot of you are subscribed already, and Max loves you for that. Because he is my little mini manager, and I think we've got something like 89 people on there at the moment, and he's watching avidly for increases. So you can do, we've got biscuit making, what do we do after that? Scones, pizza making, soda bread, and then we'll put on the banana bread on there later today. If you are wanting to treat yourself and the banana loaf is just not going to be enough for the week, do remember that we are making cakes every single day. If you're local to us, we're in Denmead, Hampshire. If you are nearish us, We are doing deliveries every day of cream teas, so you can get in touch and ask us about that. And we also have an online shop for anyone further afield. We do brownies and cake slices and birthday tray bakes that you can send us your photos and we'll put it on, or we'll do a birthday cake image. And you can buy all that at www.boozybakers.co.uk. But we are busy, other than tomorrow, which is Max's birthday. We are literally up at the crack of dawn and we're baking and we're delivering or posting out every day. So do get in touch if you would like anything from us. Have you got any more questions?
Sarah says she's loved this. They've done it with nuts and chocolate chips, and it's a competition between her and her daughter against her son, who's making the banana bread. Christine's divided between 2 loaf tins. How long in the oven?
So if they're not as deep, I would probably say go for about 35-40 minutes and just test them. You can freeze these as well. So if you find that you've made lots, you can put them in the freezer. What else was I going to say to you about this? Photos. Please, please, please send us your photos. We love making collages of all your different bakes and sharing those with you.
Can we sprinkle some spices on top as well before
go
baking it,
for
or
it.
would they burn?
I don't think so. I think you could also get a bit of brown sugar maybe and sprinkle that on the top so you get it more caramelised. Maybe do a combination of the both.
Angela's done a banana, chocolate and pumpkin seeds one.
Oh, yum. See, mine was quite plain, but yeah, I think we'll have to try something a bit more experimental next time, won't we?
Juliet's first time on here, really well explained. Gone for banana, walnut and a handful of raisins.
Nice. Oh, glad you can join us. It's lovely to hear who's new and who's joining us again. You will find that I will be more organised now. It's just taken a while to come up with some new recipes that we can do in this time frame. I know that we've looked at quiches, we've looked at bread and pretzels, and there's quite a few. And we have to consider the amount of noise we're making, as whether you can hear us, whether it needs chilling time or cooling time. So we've come up with several recipes now. As said, we're going to do the chocolate chip cheesecake. Don't have to do chocolate, we've given you plenty of other options on there next week. And then the cinnamon buns in 2 weeks' time. There's, what's that? The tea loaf. Yeah, we're going to make a tea loaf the week after that. So I'm going to put them all online now and get them all on so you can be prepared. But as I said, next week there's no flour needed, so we avoid that problem. And then the following week, yes, it does need bread flour, it does need yeast, but if you would like a box, I think we've said £12, haven't we? And that includes posting it to you. And that will have all your flour, the yeast, the sugars, the cinnamon, and it will just be the wet ingredients that you need, the dairy. So we'll do those. And the tea loaf, which will be in 3 weeks' time, is a fat-free tea loaf. So still very tasty. In fact, I had a couple of slices of it earlier, and the only fat that was in it was the butter that I spread on top, which you don't need to do. So we're trying to do a lot of versatile recipes for you.
Does the loaf tin need to sit on an oven shelf or on a baking tray in the oven?
You can do either. If you think it's going to spill over or you're concerned, or just for ease of getting it out, put it on a baking tray. Otherwise, put the tin straight onto your baking shelf.
Rona says her daughter said thank you for the lovely cakes ordered.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Virginia, where can you find the video for the pizza making?
So if you go to YouTube, and it's Boozy Bakers, there is a couple of channels which are both ours called Boozy Bakers. One has a few subscribers and I don't know how to access that anymore. Any YouTube experts out there, I'd love to know. And then there's our new one which has our logo and it's all the workshops are listed under there. So just YouTube Boozy Bakers and you'll see the workshops. They're all listed. It has our ingredients in the description so you can get it all together beforehand and then you can play those workshops.
In the oven, top or middle shelf?
I always go for middle. If I'm not cooking too many things at the same time, I'll always go for the middle of the shelf and then it allows it all to heat up nicely around it.
Helen's very happy with the brownies she ordered. They arrived Thursday. Delicious.
Yay.
Didn't last long enough for a photo.
Never do they?
And Mark's saying, freeze, this loaf won't last a day with my family.
We always make sure, whatever we do, we experiment. Like, what's the shelf life on it? How long will it last? Does it freeze? We rarely have to use any of those because it tends to be gone very quickly. I know the bread we made, and the kids have got into bread making, particularly Max loves making olive bread, and we made a loaf yesterday. It was huge, and we sat down, and with about half an hour we had just the end left. So nothing lasts very long in this house.
If you used apples, is it chopped or sauce-like, and how many grams?
It's preference. If you use apples and they're just chopped, they're going to release moisture, but they're not very liquidy. I would say, and it's preference on a lot of it, between 250 and 300 grams. You do 200, means a lot of taste in that. If you're doing a liquidy, anything that's got a lot of liquid, I would err on the lesser side of that, just because you're adding so much moisture to it.
Janice has put leftover mixture in small cake cases. How long in the oven, please?
If you're doing cake cases, if they're fairy cakes, I would do 15 minutes. If they're muffin size ones, I would go for 20.
Maureen's zooming forward to the cinnamon buns. Is there a good alternative to cinnamon, as they don't like it?
Yes. So if you don't want to do cinnamon, we'll put some suggestions up, but you could do like a chocolate spread. You could do a sugar syrup with sultanas to make it more into a Belgian bun. So we will put up some alternatives as well.
Will cinnamon buns work with wholemeal bread flour?
Well, they will taste different, but it's a bread dough. So I suppose if you make it as a bread dough, then yes, it will work. But there will be a difference in taste, obviously, because this is going to be with a white bread flour, and we're adding a bit of sugar to it, and that sweetness. And you might lose a little bit of that with the wholemeal, but it will still work. Do you want any more questions?
Claire says, thank you. First time we've joined. One daughter made banana and raisin, the other daughter made pineapple and marshmallow.
Oh, now I want to see a photo of that one. Pineapple and marshmallow. I bet that would be really nice, actually.
We're getting lots of thank yous for another great session.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'm sorry the kids left me today, but I don't know what was wrong with them. But they're just like, they've been out on their scooters a bit, and they're just a little bit high energy, I think. So hopefully they'll be back next week. Erin's looking forward to crushing biscuits, so hopefully she'll be back with me. But right, well, I will leave you to it. Thank you very much for joining us again. If you have any questions, feel free to get in touch. If you're wanting to know more about our other products that we do to buy, either go onto our online shop or feel free to send us a message, and we look forward to seeing all your lovely photos of banana bread. Thank you very much. Bye guys.